So hi everyone. So I will explain what we completed. So we have completed. Okay, what is Snowflake and its layers in the Snowflake. Okay, then micro partitions. How the data will be stored in the Snowflake. What is cluster key? What is query pruning? Query pruning. Then we seen about zero copy loading. How we can clone the data without duplication. Cloning. Then time travel. So there are we discussed about three methods. Okay. Offset, timestamp, and parade. Then stages, internal stages. So user stage, table stage, and named internal stage, and external stages about AWS. Okay. Then so we have three external stages like AWS, Azure, and GCP. So we discussed about AWS. Okay. These are external stages. Okay. Then we discussed about how to load data, how we to load data from on-premises to local machine. Okay, so with the direct load and with the stages. The next external stages, how to load data. Okay, so using copy command when bulk data come, and then we discussed about Snowpipe for continuous data loading. Okay, so we seen about with how to handle errors, how to handle errors in the Snowflake. Then what we seen about? So we seen about, okay, that error data loading into the table. Then we seen about how to load the JSON data. Then okay, so how to load data with a lateral flatten. Then how to load deep JSON data using lateral flatten. Okay, this concept we covered. Okay, so in the Snowflake. Okay, today we're going to discuss about, okay, so types of loads in the Snowflake. Types of slow loads in the Snowflake. So usually, so we have one is like full load. Second one is, okay, incremental load. Incremental loading. Incremental loading. Then we seen about, okay, so continuous load. So we're going to discuss about, okay. So types of load is Snowflake, full load and incremental load and continuous load. So these are major load types in the Snowflake. Okay. So what is full load? So full load means all data from source to target. So at once we need to load the data. So what is full load? Okay, full load means entire data. So I have one table. Okay, so like patients details table, patients details table, patient details table. So in that, so today I'm receiving. So I'm receiving so 50,000 records. 50,000 records I am receiving. So then I'm creating the so patient table. Okay, patient table. Then I'm loading the data. So tomorrow with I am receiving, okay, so a file with 1 lakh rows. Okay, 1 lakh rows, 1 lakh records I'm receiving. So in this 1 lakh records, what we have, so it will also include this 50,000 rows. 50,000 rows. Then what we do? Then what we do? So again, we will truncate this patient table. So truncate. Okay, we truncate the patient table. Okay, then we will truncate or drop. So if you drop, we need to create it again. If you truncate, okay, no need to create it again. So usually what we do, truncate patient table, then we will load these 1 lakh rows. Suppose if you don't truncate the table, okay, So what will going to happen? So when we loading this 1 lakh records, so again already we have 50,000 records, right? Then we have 50,000 records, duplicate rows, duplicate rows. So again next day we going to receive and 1,50,000 records. So what we do again, we truncate the patient table. Okay, so we truncate the patient table, then it will empty. Then we load again 1,50,000 rows. It means so first day we receiving the 50,000 records. So we are creating patient table and we are loading the 50,000 records. Then again we are receiving next day 1 lakh rows, but it will also include this 50,000 rows. So suppose without dropping or without truncating table, if you load again 1 lakh rows, it's going to have the 50,000 records, duplicate records, and we need to pay for that. It's going to occupy the storage in the Snowflake and we need to pay for it. Okay, to avoid that, what we will do, we will truncate the patient table, then we will load the 1 lakh rows again. So again third day it's going to we going to receive single file 1,50,000 rows. So it's going to include okay 50,000 first day and second day it going to include 50,000 secondary records and third day new records 50,000. Totally we have 1,50,000 records. Okay, so 1,50,000 records. Okay, so usually sometimes what will happen, first day 50,000 and second day so 1 lakh. Okay, 1 lakh records will be. So sometimes third day what we will receive, so 50,000 1 lakh. Okay, so totally, so 1,50,000 plus new records. Okay, 50,000. Totally, we going to receive sometimes okay 2 lakhs records also. Okay, so if you insert that data, we're going to have okay a lot many duplicate records in that. So further to ever that, we're going to trigger the table and we're going to load the data. Okay, so this is usually we can call it like full load. Okay, so but if you go day by day, so in future we're going to receive like millions of records, right? But for data loading and every day we are doing truncating, okay, it going to some making we need to pay for more for that storage and that process everything. So every time same process we are doing again and again, okay, you will take it's going to take some cost and everything. So to avoid that, so we have incremental data loading the Snowflake. So incremental data loading, okay, incremental data loading in the Snowflake to avoid that. Okay, full. So this is like uh, way of loading second one. Suppose okay, so here we use what we use okay directly in full load. So this is like when you do the first time data migration, so it will handle the historical data loading. Okay, so when data is manageable only in that time only we will load using the full load. But to avoid that, what we going to do, so we're going to do incremental. So what is incremental means? Okay, so here we already have this data, right? We have copied this. So this is incremental load. So in incremental load, so first I will create here different one table. Okay, so patient table I will create. I will load the 50,000 records. Then next day when I'm receiving the data, so I will create stream on this table. Stream on the source table. I'm going to create tree. So it's going to capture the data. So what are the change data like insert and delete and update. So first day I will load the 50,000 records. So next day I will load this 1 lakh without dropping the table, without truncating. So the stream going to capture this 1 lakh rows and it will not load this duplicate data. It will load only new records or any updates or insert or deleted records. It's going to capture. So it will load only unique data into the table. Again third day also okay, we're going to load 1,50,000 rows, but it not load previous 50,000 and 1 lakh rows, 50,000 and here 1 lakh, right? So total 1 lakh duplicate rows we have, right? So it going to avoid those data. So maybe 1 lakh or 1,50,000. So it's going to load only unique data, and it's going to load only any updates or inserts in the data. So those data is going to be load into the table. Okay, so that is like incremental process. So that is incremental process. But so we're going to use here for incremental streams concept. So streams concept merge, okay, task we going to use here. Okay, this is incremental. So whenever from source we are getting any new or changed data, so directly instead of full load we're going to use the incremental. In that we're going to use so primary key, and okay, so primary key, but we need to give for the like id, so which is the major employee id, patient id, so like that. So this is of one of type of load, incremental. So, this is very important. Okay, in real time we're going to many times we're going to use the incremental. So in interview, the must they will ask about increment. Okay, so this is very important. So check with this one. Okay, so next we go with one more point. So stream edge task. Okay, so next like continuous data already you know. Suppose today I'm receiving data. Okay. So 6 o'clock. Okay. So tomorrow again I will receive the data again 6 o'clock. Or for every 12 hours or every 2 days or every 1 day or every 6 hours, 12 hours. Okay. So in the time we're going to receive, or maybe not a fixed time, 1 hour, and after 2 hours, after 6 hours, I'm going to receive it. So that is the data with like continuous data. So whenever we are receiving that continuous data, so we need to go with the Snowpipe. Snowpipe. So when it's in the continuous data, we need to go with the Snowpipe. Okay. So this is for continuous data. So usually we receive like live data. Live data. So whenever the data is loaded to S3 bucket, so automatically this Snowpipe going to load that data Snowflake into the Snowflake tables. Okay, this is continuous data. So maybe weekly or 2 days, 1 day, we're going to receive. Most of the time, we're going to handle the so live data. So this is continuous data loading using Snowpipe. Already we loaded. Okay, so then one more thing we have here. Fourth one is like batch load. So what is a batch load? Usually it's going to be like so Snowflake is whenever the data is loaded to this bucket, even hourly or 2 hours or every 10 minutes, 2 hours, it's going to load the data using the Snowpipe. So batch load it have the fixed intervals. So hourly, okay? It's going to be like okay, daily or night time. Okay? So this time we're going to load this data. So for in that scenario, batch load for that, what we're going to use. So we're going to create task in the Snowflake, or so if you are using any ADF or if you are using any like Airflow, so they will schedule the loading process. Okay, source file generated for every some hours, and then schedule task. We need to use task or ADF for Airflow, then copy into Snowflake. So this method we're going to follow whenever hourly or daily or nightly. Then a specific time we're going to receive the data. So in that scenario, we're going to use the batch load. Okay. So this data not need like a real time updates. So this is like batch data for reporting system. We're going to load this batch method. We're going to follow the batch method. So is no need to any real time updates in this data. So that's why data we're going to use the task. Okay, usually create task we can create and we can load it. If you know ADF and Airflow, we can use that one. So telling you how you loaded batch load using the task. Go to the batch load. Okay, so then we're going to load data. First, I will explain. We're going to discuss today streams concept. Okay. So first, I will explain what is streams concept. Okay. So for incremental data, For incremental data, we going to use the streams. So streams, here we going to use the merge statement. So merge statement. And then we going to use the task. So this is the task we going to use. So first of all, so what we will do? Okay, first we create one source table. Then after we going to create one stream table. Stream on source table. Stream on source table. Then we're going to create one target table here. So we need to create the three tables. Two tables, one is stream. So one is source table. Then we need to create stream on source table. Then after we're going to use target table. Okay. In the target table, like same like using like we need to create using like create table name like a source table, same table. So this source table having the same columns and this target table also having the same columns, depending on the scenario. Okay, so streams and sources. So what? So suppose I'm creating in this table. Suppose I have ID, name. Okay, so amount. Okay, and then I have city. Okay, four columns I have. So when I create stream on source table, so this stream also having ID, name, okay, and amount and city. Then it will also have the so uh, like metadata dollar. So is insert. Okay, this column also it will have. Okay, then extra column. So in into they will ask. So when you create the stream, what is going to have? What are the columns in the stream table? So usually it have the ID, name, amount, city, and metadata is insert and metadata. So dollar. So is update. Then metadata dollar. So row ID. So these columns stream going to have. So not only ID, name, amount, city. So it will also have this. It is going to create three columns. So metadata is insert, metadata is update. So metadata row ID. Okay. So this is very important. Okay. So it knows. So it's going to track the metadata in the table whenever the data loaded to the source table. So this is the process. Okay, metadata insert, metadata update, and metadata row. This stream table going to have the these columns. Again, this target table is going to have same ID, name, amount, city. Okay, so first I will insert one row. Okay, in source table. So after inserting this data, so we in this then we need to check the data source table. Then the data having this table. Okay, so now we're going to check the stream table. So next we're going to also have the this data. So, this what is have insert. So that one the data action it will going to show fields like insert. Okay, insert and update or delete like that. Okay. So streams are source table. Okay, when it's going to capture this data, source level data, then it's going to have same data in this one. So again, I have inserted right. So metadata is actually going to show insert. So metadata is update is going to show false, and it's going to show some row ID. Okay, like that. Okay, so by default it's going to create a snowflake. Okay, so this is one. Okay, then when we need to check this target table, so it don't have any data. So as of now it's going to so empty. So after so what we need to so we need to write the merge statement. So merge statement. So with we need to give the correction. Okay, whenever the source table going to receive data, so we need to write the merge statement with streams into target table. So whenever the stream received this data, okay, so whenever the data is inserted into the source table, so stream going to capture this data. So after so we already written we going to return one merge statement with correction with streams table and target table. Then after capturing this data, so whenever we run this merge statement, so the data going to move into the target table, and again if you check the stream table it going to be empty. So whenever we run this like stream or merge statement, the data going to move to the target table. After when we check the stream table, so it won't have any data, it will move to the target table. So this is how the stream will work. Okay, so after running the stream, okay, it going to move data into the target table. So if you don't run the stream, still it will hold the data, but after running, going to load the table into the target table. Okay, so this is insert. Suppose what I'm doing, so I am going to update the data. So what it's going to show metadata action is like two columns. It's going to first, when we insert, it's going to show insert false and row ID. But when I update the data, it's going to show one insert. First, it's going to show one delete. It's going to delete the previous value, and you'll update equal true and some row ID. So next row, one more row we have. So insert update is true, again new row ID is going to show. Okay, so this is when we update the data. So the two columns we have, they will ask me interview. So action is one is like delete, okay, true, update is true, row ID is okay, we will get row ID. Then again action is insert, and update is true, and row ID we will have. Okay, this is when we update the data. So we will have those columns. Okay, we're going to see the practical. No worries.
Update చేసినప్పుడు ఇన్స్టాల్ అకౌంట్ డిలీట్ అవుతుంది కదా, దానికి ఈజ్ అప్డేట్ ట్రూ పడుతుందా?
So then again we're going to delete the, okay, this is after we're going to capture. So whatever the data is updated, it's going to change in the target table also. Okay, same thing when we run the stream only. After these two rows what we have, it's going to move to the, okay, target table. We don't have those data in the, so target table. Okay, so this is how to handle the updated data using strings. Okay, this is one method. So next method, like target table is having the data. Okay, third one like delete data. So I'm going to delete the data. So source table, it's going to delete the source table. Then stream going to capture that data again. What we deleted, it will show. The action is delete. Okay, update is false. Then we'll get some row ID. Some row ID will get. Okay, so then again stream go, when we run the stream, it going to delete the data into the target tables. Okay, so this is how the streaming works. Okay, so we use streams for insert, okay, updates, and deletes. If we are receiving for source from data, so maybe we going to receive new data. Okay, so it's going to update update the data. Suppose I create the patient table, right? Okay, suppose a patient today, the instance yesterday the instance not claimed, but today the update is, so the patient he claimed the insurance. Like that we receive updated data, then going to we need to update this data to the target. Okay, so again delete. Suppose patient the every work is completed, like insurance and he discharged from the hospital. So everything is clear in that scenario, the example I'm telling. So in that scenario it going to delete the data. Okay, so this is how it will work. Okay, insert update deletes. So we're going to use the incremental intro. They will ask in different pattern. Okay, so way of pattern. Okay, we need to say streams, using the streams like how you handle today I'm receiving data, and tomorrow I'm going to receive data, and day after tomorrow I'm going to receive data. Okay, so how we handle this data using the streams. Okay, streams, how you handle incremental data, how you handle incremental data. Okay, so they will ask in the different ways. Okay, so this is how to handle the stream data. So I'm receiving millions of rows, right? Okay, every time I'm going to receive. Okay, so every time I no need to every time I need to run the stream, but it will take some time, right? Every time I need to check the data into the S3 bucket, or okay, or in the source table I need to run the stream. So it will take doing the process again and again. To avoid that, we have task in the Snowflake. Okay, so what is task? Okay, for it going to run the SQL statement. Okay, so we need to create the task, okay, with warehouse name, and okay, and warehouse name and time. So scheduled time. So in the time they will use Chrome also they will use. Okay, Chrome also use as per the uh, requirement. We're going to use directly. We can use schedule time or we can use the Chrome inside the this time syntax, the schedule syntax. Chrome also so we can use. Okay, so this is like a way of loading data. Okay, using incremental when we create a task with a merge statement by default what we given time or 10 minutes. Okay, 1 hour 2 hours automatically the sequence statement going to run. It going to the whenever that if the data in the stream table it going to run the merge statement. If the data in the stream table only it will run. That if there is no data in the table it not going to run the it not going to run the merge statement. If the stream having the data it will run. So the data going to load into the target table. So this is how to handle like incremental data. So already we know for batch loading. So just we also going to use the task. So whenever 5 hours, it's going to load the data. Okay, that is for single table. But this is for the we have source and stream and we have target table, right? Okay, this is one. And for continuous data, we're going to use the Snowpipe. For bulk data, we're going to use the copy command. So what are the types of loads means what we need to tell? So we need to go with full load, incremental load, and continuous load and batch load. Okay, so batch load. Okay, we need to select. Okay, so that's all. Okay, so remember this load methods and how to handle a stream. So now we're going to do the practical. Okay, we're going to create stream and we're going to load the data. Okay, so this is how it works. Okay, so every day refresh. Okay, what I'm giving questions like on Saturday, so must go with it. Okay, if you know if you can answer for those questions, then it means you know subject everything. Okay, so finally when you are going to attend the interview, it's going to be very easy. Okay, so very easy. Just go with this. Okay, what I have completed, so I'm providing for them only the questions. So I'm not giving any unnecessary questions. You need to know the everything. Okay, any doubt? So yes. Okay, so now we will open the Snowflake account. So same link with the rejoin. Okay, I will be ending the meeting. Same with rejoin.